So this is what we mean when we're talking about a changing landscape for investors, because the option to buy the old boring single family home and rent it out might be disappearing. Hey everyone, for this week's Rockstar Minute, I want to talk to you about something that I really think is changing in real estate investing. It's really changing the landscape in the Golden Horseshoe, Ontario, just really right across Canada. It's a trend that we're seeing. And I want to share a couple charts from Ben at Edge Analytics. If you haven't checked him out, he put some great data together. So take a look at this one here. These are the dwellings under construction from all the Sensence metropolitan areas across Canada. And look at the single family trend there. See how single family has been flat, and see how condos and rentals have jumped? This is what I'm talking about. This is really changing the investing landscape, because even though we're getting a lot of housing units on the market to deal with some of the population growth, and I know people will have little debates about if we have enough or not from the population growth and if there's a housing shortage, but whether there's a shortage or not, what there definitely is a shortage of is single family homes. That's what's changing. That's what's changing the landscape. Here's what's coming up. This chart here is the building permits for single family homes, and you can see the trend. The long-term trend is on the downswing, and lately, just because of the economy, where interest rates have gone, it's plummeted straight down. So there's not a lot of pipeline of the single family product coming on the market here. And when we see population growth like we've seen, this is the number of homes to population growth. And you can see it's completely out of whack. Even if population growth slows, we need it to slow dramatically to get it more in line with where it could be sustainable, or we need construction to jump a lot. And any developers that we're speaking to, they're telling us, like, guys, look, the numbers that we need to make things affordable or to absorb all this population increase, the developers are telling us, guys, it's just not realistic that we can build that much in that short time, with all the red tape involved and just the materials and the labor challenges, all this type of stuff. So we see these types of trends. And here it is in Ontario specifically. This is single family building permits in Ontario specifically, and you can see how those are in the same trend, downtrend, and they're plummeting straight down. And then here's the trend in Toronto, right? And we're seeing condos really outstrip single family construction, and same with rentals. So this is what we mean when we're talking about a changing landscape for investors, because the option to buy the old boring single family home and rent it out might be disappearing, because there's fewer of them being built as a percentage of the housing units. And the demand is going to stay. Our belief is demand for single family housing isn't going to go away. It's going to remain as strong as it was, because people still want to live in that type of unit, or it might become stronger if population continues to grow and there's not the demand, there's not the supply here. So if demand increases and the supply doesn't increase with it. So these are the types of trends that we watch as investors. We've gone through this, and we've shared different stories of our family and what we went through in the late 80s and early 90s when our dad was flipping homes, and the lessons we learned from that about overbuilding and not having cash flow and all these types of things. So there's definitely more to this argument, but this is just one point that we want to look at, is why we like having assets that we feel are going to be in demand for the long term. And if we're building a real estate asset base, single family homes play a very important part in that real estate asset base to us. That's the way we look at things. So that's why I'm sharing this, because it seems like the market dynamics of these things may be getting more and more out of whack in the future. So that's what we're looking at. And here's something else just kind of to think about. This is an image that we got from Andy at Sweet Editions. This was a while ago, so I'm sure he's got better ones now. But it triggered something, and Andrew in the office said this. He's like, guys, the way I look at these single family lots now, because when I was younger and I was growing up, I heard people's families that they said that, my parents came to Canada, they immigrated to Canada, and they were able to buy some land. They bought, some acreage of land, not far out at all today, but from Toronto. Maybe they bought it in the outskirts of Mississauga or in Brampton, things like that. And they're like, they sat on that land, and that was a real opportunity for building from them, is to be able to sit on that land. And in the future, it became something because they could build different things on it. And it was worth thinking about, made me think. He's like, look, I look at some of these older single family building lots where there's a little bit more room on them. He goes, is that the land grab of today? Because you can take that single family lot and you can add a second unit onto it now, because of the changes, the government changes and the bylaw changes for adding additional units onto single family lots. So you can add the second unit. you can add the third unit or the laneway house or the garden unit. So in some places you can add a fourth unit. So there's, things are changing a little bit, right? So there's all these laws are changing to try to create some density in these areas. And that's like these little mini land grabs where you can build some additional units, and it changes the numbers on the investment. Right? That's why we're seeing some people in Toronto, they can buy one or two of these lots, put them together. And I know Craig Race has showed us a couple examples of different things he's doing. And he's doing awesome, very, very cool projects where they put the density on them. They buy a couple lots and they're able to build multiple units on these things. And it turns into very good investment with very good, strong cash flow numbers and strong equity numbers by forcing appreciation, by doing the work and manufacturing a new finished product. So that's kind of why we look at this thing. That's why we think that, we wonder, at least, is the real estate investing landscape changing right before our eyes? But because we see it slowly every day, we don't really notice it. But if we look 5 or 10 years ago and look at the single family numbers to the population numbers now, it's not where it was then, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So us as investors, if we're trying to grow an asset base, then is that someplace that we should put some focus on and put some thought into? Just food for thought. You obviously make your own decisions, own research, that type of thing. But we still believe, we used to do this little unicorn thing. We had a little image of a unicorn. We put income on it. And we still believe that income producing assets like these types of properties may still be the unicorns in the future. And what we mean by that is they may become harder and harder to find and even more important in a portfolio. So that's what we mean when we call some of these types of things the unicorn. Sometimes when someone in our team finds just, something that's spitting off a ton of cash flow, these days with higher interest rates, especially, they call it, oh yeah, I found a unicorn for this guy. So they get kind of happy that way. So that's why we look at these types of things that can really be morphed, changed, the value have value add increased, spit off a good amount of income. We think long term, at least for our lives, and to live life on our terms and give ourselves some options and financial flexibility, we think searching those things out is still going to be an important thing. So that's why we're sharing that. Check it out. Make sure this might work for you. Just sharing some of our thoughts to see if you agree, and it gives you something to think about. Maybe you look around and realize it's happening, and it kind of works into your decision some ways. So hope that helps. And don't forget, until next time, your life, your terms. See ya.